everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing great today. So it's actually been kind of a while since I posted on this channel, and if you've been following my channel, I'm sorry about that. But today I actually have a really exciting topic that I really am excited to talk to you guys about, and that is how you can force spring bulbs to bloom for you in winter. Now, I know it seems kind of out of the ordinary that I'm talking about this in August, and it's like, why are we talking about spring? It's August, it's hot, it's probably humid if you're in a climate like mine, and your spring is probably the last thing on your mind. But this is actually a great time to start forcing bulbs to get the process started, and I will tell you what I mean by that in a minute, to get these to bloom inside when you want them to in the winter time. So, first and foremost, the reason why we're starting this now is because these bulbs I'm forcing here, these beautiful red and this mix of hyacinths, is that they need a certain number of chilling hours, or I guess in this case, weeks. They need a certain number of weeks of temperatures between 35 and 45 degrees. Now, it does vary depending on which bulb you're forcing, and tulips and hyacinths are by no means the only bulbs you can force, but those are going to be the four ones that, at least for now, that I'm forcing. And so they need a certain number of weeks in the cold. Tulips, I believe, need at least 14 to 16 weeks. Hyacinths need at least 11 to 13 weeks. I'll actually put the some chilling times in the description if you're interested in checking those out. So there's actually, now you may be wondering how you can do that, how you can obtain the necessary conditions to chill them. The best option, if you have it, is a refrigerator. I actually got a little miniature refrigerator last year that's actually in the basement that I chill my bulbs in, and it seemed to work really well when I forced hyacinths. In fact, let me see if I can find some pictures. I'll put them up on the screen of some hyacinths I forced. I believe they were blooming January or February. I think it was February. But yeah, and it turned out really well. Now, especially now, if you're forcing them this early, which you don't have to get them started this early, but it certainly doesn't hurt. Putting them in the fridge, if you have room, is probably ideal because their temperatures stay right around the 35 to 45 degree range that these bulbs need in order to chill properly. Other options would be, probably you would have to wait a little later in the season when it cools down, if you live in a cold enough climate, in order for them to cool down. And I should also mention that if you're in a warmer climate trying to do this, the refrigerator is really the only option you have. Don't put them in the freezer, but put them in the fridge, and make sure if you do chill them in the fridge that you put them away from any fruit, because they actually give off a gas called ethylene, and it can actually ruin the flower bulbs or the flower bud inside of these bulbs. So if you're doing them in the fridge, make sure they are not by any fruit or vegetables, or really just any produce that could harm these bulbs. Mine are not. They're in kind of a separate, like I said, a little separate mini fridge that I use chiefly for chilling bulbs. So I am all for the refrigerator option, but again, if you live in a cold enough climate, you can also chill them in like an unheated garage or unheated garage, or maybe like a cold attic or something, somewhere where it does not freeze. They can't freeze, but they need to stay cold. I hope that makes sense. Like I said, it needs to be between 35 and 45 degrees for however long they need to chill for. So those are kind of different areas where you can chill them. Now, as for different ways you can force them, I am actually, well, as you can see now, I'm forcing them in pots. You can also chill them in like forcing glasses. In fact, I have some I'd like to show you, and I'm sure you've probably seen them, and I'll get them and I'll be back in just a second. So the other option you can actually do is you can force them in pebbles, and you may have seen these. These are hyacinth glasses, and these are more specifically for hyacinths. You can use tulips and things like these, but this more specifically is meant for hyacinths. So what you would do, and this is also good if you don't like, getting dirty, and that is something that is something to keep in mind when you're doing this, is you probably will make a mess. But, us gardeners, we're a messy bunch. Let's just put it that way. So what you can do is, you can actually do this one of two ways. You can actually just put them in the fridge or wherever you're chilling them in these bags. And once their time is up, you can just take them out and put them, just kind of place them in, and you can fill it up with water just to the very bottom. In fact, why don't I just take one out to show you what I mean. Is you say, like, you just put the bulb like this, and you would fill it to like maybe about right there. You don't want them to be sitting in water, because if they're sitting in water, the bulbs will rot. So you definitely want to be careful with that. Same thing goes for this. So you can either do that, or if you have room, you can actually plant them all in there and let them chill while they're already planted. You take the whole thing and place it in wherever you're chilling them, and that would probably work out fine as well. But if you want to save space, you can just chill them like this. And what you want to do when you take them out, when you plant them up after they're done chilling, put them somewhere about, maybe, if you can, put them somewhere maybe about 50 to 60 degrees, or excuse me, like 40 to 50 degrees or so for a few weeks while they form roots. Otherwise, they might grow up and they might get floppy. Now, mine kind of did that regardless, so it's not strictly required, but they will do better if you can do that. So they have roots. Now, that's kind of, and then when they're forming roots, you can take them out and keep them in a cool room. Same thing if you're forcing them in pots, is forcing them in a preferably below 65 degrees, although I don't have a room that stays that cool in the winter. So I just keep them in the coolest room in the house, which typically stays at least below 70. And if you can, keep the blooms, when they are blooming, keep them out of direct sunlight so that the blooms don't get scorched and so they don't fade as quickly. So that's kind of a general overview of kind of how you do this, how you get them, how you start chilling them and getting them to start blooming. I hope those made sense. So I'm just going to show you, if you're doing them in pots, I'm actually going to be doing both, but I'm mostly going to be focusing on just doing them in pots today. Is what you would do is you would just take your hyacinth bulbs, make sure that you get good quality bulbs. Like, look at that. Bulb looks so nice. You just kind of nestle in there. I also forgot to mention, well, actually, I guess I didn't mention it yet, is whenever you're planting them, you want to make sure that this side isn't touching. That there's like a little bit of room between the side of the bulb and the pot, between the bulb and the pot. And you can fit as many bulbs as will fit shoulder to shoulder. So let's get another one. As many bulbs as will fit side to side, in which they are not touching. Make sure they're not touching, but yeah. So yeah, you just place them in the pot, and yeah. There we go. Sorry, the camera wasn't pointing on that. Sorry about that. So yeah, see, I fit nice, 4 nice bulbs, all nestled in there. It'll look super pretty when they bloom. And then you just take regular potting mix. Make sure if you're doing them in pots, I forgot to mention, just put them in regular potting mix. And what you're gonna do is you're going to just cover them up gently, making sure that the very tops of the bulb, like the tips, are still above the soil. So yeah, something like that. Just make sure they get nice and anchored in there. So they should look something like this after they're done planting. And the same goes for the tulips. So you plant the tulips the exact same way. So yeah, you plant them like this, and then you can give them a little drink, not too much because they don't have any roots. So you don't want to water them too much, but just enough to kind of get the soil settled. I'm sorry, I am horrible with the camera today. I do apologize. But yeah, not too much. So we'll let that settle down, and then I will show you where this and where the other pot is going. So here's the fridge where they're going to be living for the next several months. So yeah, you just put them in the fridge where they'll stay nice and cool. Make sure you're checking on them. If the soil feels like it's getting dry, then give them a light watering. And then, so like I said, they need 35 to 45 degrees. And one thing I actually was reading is that for the first few weeks, if you can start them off slightly warmer, and the nice thing about this fridge, I can actually like turn it down to a little bit of a warmer setting for the first few weeks, so it helps them root. And then you turn it back over to the colder setting, so it kind of simulates the drop in temperature over the winter, or as they would be outside. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, just check on them. Do not water them if they're still moist. And yeah, just keep an eye on them. And after about 3 or 4 months, you can start acclimating them. Again, like putting them in maybe a dark and maybe about 50-degree spot or so for maybe a week or two. And then moving them out wherever you want to have them grow, and you can enjoy beautiful blooms in the middle of winter when, quite honestly, I need it the most. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't rambling on too much, but this is an activity I really enjoy, and I really want you guys to have success with it. So yeah, that's basically forcing bulbs in a nutshell. And I still have more pots to plant, but I think you guys get the idea. So yeah, and so if you guys enjoyed this video, guys, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys have any ideas for any future topics, leave them in the comments, and I would love to hear your suggestions. So, and I will see you guys in another video very soon. Thanks for watching.